Well, thank you all for coming out. Again, my name is Seth Moore. I'm the Sovereign Lands and Environmental Review Program Coordinator for the Iowa DNR. I'll be presenting on the Dakota Access Sovereign Lands Permit application. So this is kind of just what we're going to go over tonight in this presentation and a little bit about the meeting. So we're going to first go over the Iowa Administrative Code 571, Chapter 13. Chapter 13 Application Review, Application Project Description, Sovereign Land Water Crossings, and then after my presentation we'll start the public comments. So, Iowa Administrative Code 571, Chapter 13. Sovereign land permits and easements for construction and related activities on public lands and waters. Certain public lands are under the jurisdiction of the Iowa DNR. These rules are established to regulate the evaluation and issuance of sovereign land permits for construction or other related activities on public ground. Any construction on, above, or under lands and waters under the jurisdiction of the Iowa DNR must secure sovereign lands construction permits from the department in advance of work. So, when we first receive an application for a sovereign lands permit, we begin our evaluation process. In that evaluation, the department evaluates the impacts to public use, natural resources, and future management of the public land being affected. Concerning our review standards, department staff from several bureaus such as wildlife, forestry, fisheries, for example, review the application. Examples of what input is provided by staff are impacts to plants and animals, wetlands and unique habitats, threatened and endangered species, as well as erosion and water quality. This input is then used to determine if a permit should be written or denied. So now we'll go into exactly what the application is for, or what they applied for in the application. So Dakota Access LLC has requested authorization from the Iowa DNR to install the proposed crude oil pipeline across the following sovereign lands: the Big Sioux River, the Big Sioux River Wildlife Management Area, or WMA, the Des Moines River, and the Mississippi River. The Dakota Access Pipeline Project alignment would traverse parts of North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and Illinois for a total length of 1,134 miles. Dakota Access proposed to construct, own, and operate approximately 346 miles of a 30-inch diameter pipeline, one pump station, and other facilities in Iowa. So we have here just a state map of Iowa. This is a look where the pipeline crosses the state from northwest to southeast Iowa. The stars with red circles around them show the areas of where the sovereign land is that will require a sovereign lands permit. Now, there are only 3 stars, but the one in the northwest corner in Lyon County, that covers both the sites in Lyon County that will require a permit. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the sovereign crossings. So in this map, I'll kind of just give you a little bit of a legend on each of the lines here. This main red line is where the pipeline is crossing. Now it's hard to see here, but there are 2 thin black lines on each side of that red line. Those are the temporary, those are the right-of-ways, and I'll explain those later. The light blue line right here at the Big Sioux River crossing, that's the ordinary high water line mark. And then the yellow line is just where they have done surveys for different parts of their application. And then this light blue line here, the rectangle, that's the Big Sioux River Wildlife Management Area. That's the lines of the property. And just some background on this river crossing and others. Jurisdiction for public waters affected by this project begins with the ordinary high water line down to and includes the beds of the rivers involved, as well as above and below those areas. So the ordinary high water line is basically where flowing water has an influence on plant growth, and then stops where flowing water does not have an effect.
Could you speak into the mic, please?
Yep. The ordinary high water line is basically where flowing water has an influence on plant growth and then stops where flowing water does not have an effect. In the application, they plan to use HDD, horizontal directional drilling, under the rivers. HDZ is a steerable trenchless method of installing underground pipes, conduits, and cables in an arc along a prescribed bore path by using a surface launch drilling rig. The sites for entry and exit points of the boring for the Sovereign River crossings are on private land. So we'll start with the Big Sioux River. So the Big Sioux River crossing. And they plan to bore 59 feet below the river bottom and exit 750 feet east of the top bank of the river. The Big Sioux River Wildlife Management Area, right here in this circle, they plan to use open cut trenching along 1,500 feet of public ground to install the pipeline, which will affect 3.52 acres. The trench will be 8 feet deep, 12 inches wider than the pipeline width. Again, the pipeline is 30 inches. And at least 3 feet of fill over the pipe, and will parallel an existing Northern National Gas Company pipeline across this tract. There will be a variable width temporary right-of-way along the route, and I mentioned that before. You can't. It's hard to see, but there are lines here showing where that right-of-way will be. In the areas, seen in the picture, those black lines, those areas will be 150 or more feet in width within crop fields, 100 feet within pastures, grasslands, and 85 feet within forest areas. These disturbed right-of-way areas will be restored to pre-construction contours and conditions. Additionally, a temporary access road, seen here, of approximately 1,143 feet in length and 20 feet in width on the northern end of the property is proposed as well, and will affect around 0.52 acres. A 30-foot wide treeless area over the pipeline will be maintained for aerial surveys conducted by the pipeline company. The Des Moines River in Boone County. They will start the bore entry 800 feet west of the top bank of the river, bore 58 feet below the river, and exit 1,750 feet east of the river. The Mississippi River. They will start the bore entry 800 feet west of the top bank of the river and bore 72 feet below the river. This concludes the presentation. I'll now turn it over to Michelle Wilson, and we'll begin the public comment period. And again, this is my contact information, email, and you can send questions or comments.